You guys want me to do it? You're live.
Yeah.
Boom. Dougie, where you going?
I'm here.
Well, just as 2023 ended tough for UVA, the Hoos start off 2024 in fantastic fashion, taking out a fairly decent Louisville team. Have Fresh, welcome to the show. Chris Havlicek from the bottom, Dougie Fresh across the river from New York City and Jersey City, and I'm Mark Jerome in New York City. Guys, it's always good to win, right? Great to win. Going into 2024, is that like something that we're going to continue to see, or was it we play Louisville, let's not get too excited?
Well,
Fresh, go ahead, man.
we played Louisville. Don't get too excited. That's for sure. We're going on the road, man. It's been our Achilles heel. I think we've had 2 actual road games in the other team's arena. Is that right? Or is this the second one? In any event, it hasn't gone well when we've done this, right? NC State, I heard it's driving rain down there. Where are they? Raleigh or Durham, wherever they are. Driving rain. Students don't come back until Monday, so they're probably getting into town Saturday, Sunday, whether they show up or not. And that place, they have some nasty ass fans, man. Nothing against them. It's great for their home court, all that, but they are nasty, like kind of like Maryland. And that can, it's a big part of the atmosphere. And they're one of those teams we struggle with, right? Because they kind of play randomly. They don't have a lot of structure, I don't think. Maybe they have more with Burns, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I think it was just Louisville. This is a big, big game. It's early January, but it's, we always say this is a big game. And no Dante for the listener. I was just told no Dante.
No Dante. Yeah, I'd agree. I think Louisville, it was good to get back on track after a complete meltdown in South Bend. It was actually fortuitous scheduling because you wouldn't want to be playing, a top tier ACC team right after that shellacking. It allowed us to get our feet under us. I think some guys got some confidence, and now we go into a hostile environment. I remember a lot of the guys had come back in the week before. I expect to see a lot of, a raucous atmosphere there with students, locals, everybody. And don't forget, man, there's some momentum behind NC State. They're 2-0 in the ACC, and they're feeling pretty good. So, if they're 0-2, maybe they don't pack it, but I think it'll be packed and it'll be crazy.
Let's talk about what the momentum have. They played Notre Dame the other day. Big Daddy Burns hits the game winner with a second left on the clock on a phenomenal up and under move.
Yep.
Fake the you-know-what out of the defender and lays it in really just softly and with a lot of pizzazz and a lot of fluidity and just perfectly looked beautiful, right? Especially coming off such a big dude with the left hand, finger rolled it in. How good does this NC State team have?
Hey, they're good, man. They're 10-3. They're 2-0 in the ACC. They haven't beaten anybody really good. You can't really point to a signature win for them. But their 3 losses, by the way, are against three ranked teams: number 12 BYU, number 22 Ole Miss, and number 5 Tennessee. So those are their only 3 losses. And in those losses, you get some scar tissue there, but you also pick up a lot of experience. So they are battle tested. I think they're feeling pretty good at 2-0, and today's going to be a tough one for us. We're going to have to play really, really well to walk out of there with a win.
What makes this team, NC State team, really good? And what are our challenges?
Well, there's a couple things. So Kevin Keats is in his 7th year, right? He's been there 7 years. He took them to the tournament last year. So this is not a team that is afraid of the big stage by any measure. When you look at them, really good ball pressure. They force a lot of turnovers, but they really rely on 4 guys. They've got DJ Horn. He's the Arizona transfer, really good player, shoots a ton of threes, averages just under 15 a game. He can play. He had a terrible Notre Dame game, but he's a really good player. DJ Burns, we talked about him. He's like the refrigerator Perry of the ACC. Just a just a big body. You know, he might do the icky shuffle after if he makes another game winner, or something like that. He's just a big load.
Is he lefty?
Jaden Taylor. What's that?
Is Big Daddy Burns a lefty? That's sneaky too, right? Or is he not lefty?
Lefty.
He's a lefty,
Lefty's
and
not sure. He's playing ping pong against lefty. Sorry. Continue.
all right, way to ruin the flow there. But I agree. He's tough. Jaden Taylor, 13 points a game, 36% from three. He can fill it up. And then our old friend, Casey Morsell, in his third year at NC State. His scoring's a little bit down this year. He's averaging about 12 points per game, shooting 35% from three. So you got to worry about those guys. But what I think is interesting about this team, and it's sort of a luxury for Kevin Keats, is they play about 10 guys, and maybe the rotation shrinks to 9, maybe 8 today against an ACC opponent. But you got to talk about Dennis Parker from Richmond, which I hate whenever I see one of our Virginia boys on another team. Really good player, about 6'6", 7 points a game. He leads the team in offensive rebounding, and if you've been following us this year, you know that's something we're not good at. An old name but a new team, Ben Middlebrooks from Clemson, 6'10" guy, transfer. MJ Rice, transfer from Kansas. He's about 6'5". One guy that I'm impressed with is Muhammad Diarra from Missouri. He's 6'10". He gets after it on the boards. We're going to have to know when he's in the game. And then Mike O'Connell is from Stanford. So they did lose their 2 leading scorers last year. They brought back a core of 4 guys, but then they got 4 transfers and a really good freshman. There's a lot of talent on this team, and
Yeah, there is.
we're going to have to really go get after it to compete with them.
Mikey O'Connell, I've known and coached him and played against him and his brother for years, and then coached him. Had the pleasure. Unbelievable kid. Graduated Stanford in 3 years, which is remarkable. I think in economics too. From Mineola, Long Island, Dougie, if you know where that is, and used to come into the city and play for me at Riverside Church, and was a great lacrosse player. Was going to go I think his brother went to Maryland to play lacrosse, and then walked on for his last year at St. John's to play. And Mikey had the choice of going to Stanford for basketball or wherever for lacrosse. So really, really high IQ kid. Not going to score 20 points. Not going to move the needle and impress like athletically, but just a steady, solid player. Dougie, they did not shoot the ball well. I think they were 3 for 17 from 3 against Notre Dame. Does that scare you? Coming back home?
It does scare me. It does scare me. Because that means, you know what, that 3 for 17 is going to turn. It's going to flip the other way when we play. I mean, that's just a given. I didn't know they had this mix of players, and that was a great scouting report had. But when you got guys from Arizona, they've seen a lot. Guys from Stanford have seen a lot. Guys from Kansas have seen a lot, right? So, they're going to be at home, ready to go. I think their team will. And Casey's a 5th year. That experience and grown upness, and he's a strong guy too. Always was an athlete, so that goes a long way.
And Dougie, how much does Casey want to beat us?
I think he's one of the nicest kids I've met. But I think he'd love to stick it to the University of Virginia today. I think more importantly, I think he wants to have a really good showing. So he's probably going to be 7 for 10 from 3 or something like that. Kidding.
I think there's some people when they transfer, like, it doesn't matter. It's no big deal. No, no love lost, and they're just gonna, just approach the game as they would approach any other game. And there's some people that are fired up about playing a former team because they weren't given the ball or they didn't get enough touches, or depending on the circumstances, right? Which is always, can always be an emotion.
It's been well documented that Tony's still friendly with the parents and gave him a big hug and all that stuff. So I just think it's business-like for him. But shoot, he wants to have a huge game.
And he's a DC kid, right? So he grew up, maybe not rooting for, but certainly aware of Virginia basketball, and probably rooting for them because we were really good back then. So there's a little bit more when I think the kid is from the home state. I'm sure he would trade a win for a great individual performance, but he wants to do both.
have big question, maybe the most important question for the day. How do we stop Big Daddy Burns?
Hey, I said this on forum early this morning. You know, he's a tough matchup. Just he's such a big body. He's lefty, as Fresh mentioned. He's sort of a little bit awkward, but awkward coordinated, which is always like the hardest thing to be. You know, last year, and I reread Cuts from the Corner, had a great piece last year on how we struggled with Burns early with BVP, and then they brought Caden in, and Caden's length really, really bothered him. So my guess is we're going to start off with Buchanan on him, and we'll selectively double him. I do think that this is reckoning day for Jordan Minor. So, you know, if there's one guy when you look at our team that's active and can play, he's a body that you would say, okay, let's give him a chance here. Now the question is Tony comfortable with that, and is Jordan, you know, kind of up to the challenge? But physically, I think he's the most natural guy to maybe go and bang down low. And I called it a day of reckoning because if Jordan doesn't play today against the guy he's most suited to play against in the entire probably country, that doesn't bode well for him. I'm hoping he gets in, he gets his chance, and he performs well. He doesn't need to have a great game. He needs to say, I'm going to be an animal on defense. I'm going to get a couple rebounds. I might block a shot, but I'm just going to focus, you know, 90% of my day around being a tough defender against Big Daddy Burns.
So if you're saying that Blake Buchanan is going to start off on him, who are you suggesting is going to be the starting lineup?
You know, I would not be based on, you know, they normally play kind of 4 out with Burns down low, which actually is good for us, you know, theoretically. I liked our lineup change when we kind of went big for us. We went about as big as we could go. I think we're going to see more of that. It worked really well against Louisville. This is a different team in NC State, but I do think if Blake doesn't start, he's going to come in. He'll be the first guy. You know, the other guys that I think the other, I guess, theories I have are twofold. One is it wouldn't surprise me to see Rhodey for them to try to get him going early when he is knocking down perimeter shots and when he can be a threat offensively. It changes a lot for us. It opens things up for Reese. It opens things up for IMAC. It helps us in so many ways. I wouldn't be surprised for them to run a couple sets. And I'm hoping that Tane continues to get a chance to come in and be aggressive. Because, you know, when you open our cupboard, offensive aggressiveness, we're a little bit low on that. We might have to run to the grocery store to get some of that. But Tane brings that in spades, and he's going to put his head down and get to the hole, draw a foul. And, you know, he had a really good game, so I hope that continues for him.
Dougie, have you had a chance to see?
Have
you had a chance to see NC State at all?
Not at all this year, no. But I know what hits me the most is they replaced Joyner, who was a great point guard, and my fourth cousin removed twice, Terquavian Smith, went to the NBA. And it looks like they reloaded the guards because the other DJ, Horn, is having a fantastic season. They spread their scoring spread out, right? There's a 12, there's a 13, there's a 14. I think our staff has to assess how important and how much of a factor we think Big Daddy DJ is, the Big Daddy.
Big Daddy Burns.
And you kind of play accordingly. And Burns. And you go at him on our offense, right? We need post touches that they have. We do not let the guy rest on defense. I don't think he wants to run a lot. I don't think he wants to work a lot. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know a lot about his game.
So
but you cannot let him.
The two of you for the last couple of years have called and have I guess suggested, right, that this team get out and run. If there is one team to run against. If you watch Big Daddy Burns play, as you've seen have, you want to push the ball in transition against this team because Big Daddy Burns does not get to half court back on defense. He won't do it.
Right.
He can't do it. It's almost if he has to do it 3 times, there's got to be some oxygen waiting for him on the bench, right? He's got to be these old dudes.
It's hard to run. It's hard to run with meatball hoagies tucked into your socks, right? So that guy, if we could run, and if we can, I know selectively run, which is like the word that or the phrase that the staff uses, that would be great because getting him up and down the court only benefits us because you're right, he'll be on the oxygen mask quick.
The 2 games I saw earlier this year, he is so effective offensively. Well, 3 games because I saw Notre Dame too, just on last whatever it was, Tuesday, Wednesday, and against the first 2 games, they were getting killed in transition. They were playing inferior opponents, and they ended up winning. They weren't playing too many good. They wouldn't play anybody that good. But it's so obvious and blatant that he's not going to get back on D. He can't. He physically cannot do it. It's impossible for him to do it. So you're going to have a 5-on-4 advantage almost always. We just got a word from thank you WFSU. Blake is starting. So it's going to is UVA going to go back with that big lineup, and it will be Blake, Grove, and Ryan Dunn at the 3.
It looks like it, and I think it's a good call because when you watched cuts from the corner, he had some highlights in there. I didn't watch last year's full game, but there was a noticeable difference in how DJ Burns attacked BVP versus how he attacked Caden. Caden was long enough to bother him, and Blake is long enough to bother him. He's just got to not. What hurts us here? There's two real things I'm worried about. One, we got to get off to a good start. All right, we haven't done that on the road. Actually, we usually don't do that. We're just not a great team out of the gate. Maybe we got to, do a better kind of warm up or something. But we have not been good starting. So getting off to a good start is key. It'd be great to be up like 9-4 after a few minutes, and then secondly, if the thing that worries me is Blake, who I think will bother him if Blake picks up a couple early fouls, right? Because then you're forced into playing small ball, and maybe you bring in, and maybe that's when Minor makes his move into some meaningful minutes. But Blake will bother him with his length. It's something he's used to, but he's still got to contend with a long guy, and we'll see what happens.
I missed this. Did somebody just flash the starting lineup?
Yep.
Reese, Rhodey, IMAC. Okay, so Blake is starting with Jake Grove. So we're not going much bigger, right? It's not going to be Blake and Grove. It's going to be Blake and Ryan Dunn at the 4 and the 5.
Yeah, I like Ryan today to be a little bit of a floater. I don't know what his defensive responsibilities are, and the pack line's still going to be there, etc. But you got to tell RD, Big Daddy gets off or he gets going. You kind of got to be a floater and go at him and clean it up on the backside because I don't think Big Daddy Burns can outjump Ryan Dunn at this point.
Well, but I also think who's Big Daddy Burns going to guard in the perimeter, and Jake Grove really pulls him out because of his shooting ability, right? I'm not sure Blake has that same shooting ability yet. Maybe he does, and we just haven't seen it, or I haven't seen it. He's a little bit lighter, and you've talked about this. I think you were mentioning that once he gets to the weight room, he'll just improve and get much more coordinated. We'll see that his footwork isn't where it's going to be in 6 months or a year. Right, he's going to really improve on that, and I just hope he doesn't get bumped off the box a lot.
Yep. It's going to be telling. It's a crafty vet going against a brand new guy in the ACC. So
Daniel brought up a really good point. He said, I like Groves at the 4. And Daniel, I agree with you. It's hard not to start Ryan Dunn because he's so disruptive defensively. But, one thing I think they're going to try to get Rhodey involved early. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if the first, 3-4 plays have been scripted where they're really trying to not just like work into the game, which it seems like we do, and we always fall behind. Maybe we run some sets for people and try to get them going out of the gate. That's what I'm going to look for the first couple minutes.
And could this possibly be the most athletic starting lineup without inserting Elijah, right, or Leon Bond? But the guys who have gotten the most minutes, when you have Blake in there, who's athletic, is the idea, okay, maybe we are going to try to push the ball. Maybe we are going to try to get Blake to beat Big Daddy Burns up. BDB. What did we have? BVB last year? They have BVB, right? I'm sorry, BVB up the court. Perhaps that's their thinking. Perhaps the coaches are saying that's why I don't know that Blake really bothers Big Daddy Burns if that's who's going to guard him. Are we assuming that Blake is going to guard Burns?
It's a good point. That's a good point. I think it's going to be a combo. I think what Hav said is a great idea. I think Minor comes with some experience. I know he didn't play man to man, etc. But if Big Daddy, if the BIGDADDYBURNS gets his way inside, we're in trouble. You push him off. You try to get him away from get him a little bit out of the box. I think Caden did a great job at that last year. Great job. If he gets down low, it's got to be a double team, and that's over.
Right, which is what we do well. But his big body still could. If he gets the ball down, he's gonna quickly back somebody down. Right, he's pretty quick in making his offensive moves. So we're gonna have to, if they spread the court,
he is quick.
Right, that could cause some problems because if they spread the court, get the ball down low to him, someone's going to have to sprint over to him. A helper is going to have to sprint over to him. It may be too late, and he's pretty talented passer as well. It's not like he's a bad passer. He's good with the basketball.
He's good, yeah.
And he's not small. Is he 6'9", Habs?
Well, he's 6'9", 275 on the roster, but that probably means he's 6'8", like 295, right? So that's why that length bothered him last year. Yeah, maybe 6'7". But I'm thinking back to like, what do you do against a big that doesn't want to run? And Fresh is going to like this reference, but when the Celtics and Lakers were going at it back in the mid '80s, Kareem was at the end of his career and did not want to run back on D. And Robert Parrish, who was not a runner, right? This was not a guy that was flying up and down. Casey Jones had him running the most anyone has ever seen him run since his, middle school teacher, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if Tony and those guys said, hey, you get a rebound or it doesn't come to you, just fly down to the block. You're going to get some because he's not the most he's not the most aggressive defender, and he's certainly not the most fit defender in the ACC. So I would get that guy moving as much as we could, and I think you'll see, if we do that, you'll see him come out of the game.
Are we worried about offensive rebounds?
Yeah, they're good.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So have you? You did a great. By the way, who's providing this live looking?
I think that's Dave.
Dave, thank you very much. That's awesome. Always love the live looking. Let's figure out a way to sneak Dave down. It doesn't look like it's a huge crowd right now. Now maybe people start piling in, but that's got to be a little bit helpful to us, right? Where maybe students haven't come back, and again, it's one of those more new arenas, one of those beautiful new arenas where the college kids aren't right on top of the court, right? Those are saved for the boosters, those seats. So when we talk about the offensive rebounding, which has been our Achilles heel, as you mentioned, earlier, Minor comes and plays a role. On the Jay Willie show, I don't remember if he mentioned it on the lineup during the show, or it was right afterwards when we forgot to ask him on air what role does Minor play. But he said we're going to need Minor at some point. And this is the game, completely agree, right? This is the game where Minor plays a role, or maybe he doesn't ever play if he doesn't get in today, right? So you got fouls to give, but also you got to make sure we rebound amongst Minor, Buchanan, Ryan Dunn, and Jake Grove. Right? Those four guys have got to be in that mix, right? And then we're going to need some guard help rebounding.
they've got to run that guy. They've got to test his conditioning. They've got to get up and down, because if they run, and look, we're not going to be fast breaking, right? That's just not Tony. Maybe we selectively run today, but even if we're not running, just making him work 5% harder on every possession, that adds up. And maybe he doesn't make that, game-winning shot against Notre Dame if he was a little more fatigued.
Right. And Notre Dame. Go ahead, Dougie.
It's just like any guy they'll have, right? When you see Burns, when I've seen the Big Daddy play, when he gets the ball, he gets energized. He doesn't, you know what I'm saying? He maybe looks tired of the time. When he gets the ball, he's ready to work. Now I want to make the other point. We're playing 10 people. And you got a guy like Tane that comes in the runs. Elijah can run. Reese can facilitate on the run. Rhodey actually likes to run, and we haven't seen it with him. If we're playing that many guys and we have that many pieces, let's run a little bit, man. Let's not be afraid to run, especially today.
Do you think we add a little full court pressure too, to get the shot clock down early, to get it down quicker, so that they don't have a chance to set up in the half court offense and keep the ball away from Big Daddy?
I don't. I like the thought. I like the thought of that, but I don't, because they really play like four kind of wings and guards, right? And, I don't love our matchups, 1 and 2, fine. But, if you've got some of our guys trying to press full court, and as you know, at the end of the day, Tony, more than anything, values good defense and a tough basket on the other end. When you press, you give up some bunnies. Like, I don't think we're going to press unless we get down, which would actually be a nice development. Not that we're down, but when we are down, let's apply some pressure and try to force some turnovers. There's nothing worse than being down and dropping into the pack line and hoping the team goes cold.
Right. And it's not, I didn't mean to present it as pressing, but just full court, even if it's light pressure. So maybe they get the ball over half court with 2 seconds left in the 30-second shot clock instead of 5 or 6 seconds. Right, and those 3 or 4 seconds could make a difference with 1 or 2 passes. Could make a difference.
Yeah, the other thing. Both teams are really good with ball security. They rank like really highly. They're 1 and 2 in the ACC with ball security, assist to turnover ratio. They take care of the ball really well. And if you start seeing a disparity in turnovers versus we got some audio. If you start seeing a disparity in turnovers, whoever's leading that is going to be in good shape. The one thing that worries me, Mark and Fresh, is they have an offensive gear that we don't have, right? Like down 10 with 2 minutes to go, or down 8. They have a gear that we just do not have. It's guys that'll pull up from 3 on the break. They can make those shots. We just don't practice that. It's not our program. We don't do that. If it's a close game, I do feel like they get they will have a little bit of advantage because they can score in bunches.
Really quickly, predictions. How soon? Who's going to win? And also, how quickly do we go to that big lineup where Ryan Dunn plays the 3?
All right, I'll go prediction first, and I'll write them down. I think it's going to be 67-64 NC State today, and I think we see that lineup. I think there'll be some actually, I don't know if we see that lineup, because I think there might be some early fouls on Blake. So I think it'll take a while for him to get back in, maybe around the 10-minute mark.
Dougie?
73-62 the Hoos. What was yours? I went out. Sorry.
67-64 NC State.
NC State. Okay. Yeah, I'm 73-62 Hoos.
Okay. Marky, what do you got?
How quickly do you think we see that lineup where Ryan Dunn, the big lineup where Ryan Dunn goes to the 3?
I think we'll definitely see it today. I don't know when. It's gonna be dictated by how the game, kind of plays out early.
That could be Minor
But I think
coming
you're
in,
definitely gonna see it.
Christian Blake. That could be Grove. That could be whomever, right? Game tipped off. I'm going to say the score is 62 to 55, 56, 57, 61, 57. I'm going Hoos. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you at the half. Take care.